Okay, so as promised, I was just trying to film a bit more bits and pieces as I go. It's a bit dark over here. I I can't weld, or I've never welded, and unfortunately, it's something I always want to learn, but I never get around to. But one thing I can do is work with timber. So I won't be fabricating the tube frame front personally myself. But what I am going to do is start mocking up where the radiator intercooler and there's going to be the transmission cooler sitting on this side and the oil cooler for the engine sitting on that side. So I've got to make something for the fabricator to go off. So as you can see here, I'm making this very cheap timber bracket situation. So I'm going to keep forging on with that, and I will keep updating as I go. I'm trying to move the radiator intercooler forward as much as possible to give a bit more room in the engine bay. The radiator did sit roughly back about here, so we're going to move it forward into the front bumper as much as possible. So it's going to sit just by the intercooler, which will sit approximately about there. I've got this old splitter off my old Civic, there's a bit of a template here. So I can run some ducting from the front bumper to the intercooler and then seal the intercooler to the radiator. Unfortunately, unlike my old EG Civic, which had a really nice radiator duct coming out the back, I highly doubt there's going to be enough room for me to do that with this engine. The intake manifold sits right up close to the back of the radiator, which kind of sucks, but you can only do what you can do. But what this setup will allow is me to duct the two coolers on either side of the bumper as well, and they'll just duct straight into the wheel well, which is absolutely fine because the way it's going to be designed, this will all be opened up at the back, so that'll be all good. So I'm just playing around with angles at the moment and fitment. Currently just got these literally propped up by a piece of wood, held by a piece of string, but hey, do it works, right? I'm just seeing what is going to work, and this this sort of angle here is actually looking kind of promising as far as maybe getting some sort of duct out the back when the intake's in, but while that's not my primary concern, it's more ducting through the front. If there's an option there, I'll certainly take it, but yeah, that's somewhat how we're looking now. Obviously I keep jiggling around and it's a pain in the ass propping things with timber and string, but we'll get there. So back at it. I've had the radiator intercooler in and out about 50 times with just fitting the bumper and trying to figure out an angle. I wasn't going to actually mount on an angle at all, but now I've figured that with where the intake manifold sits, which is somewhere about here, I actually may well be able to get a duct out of the radiator and through the bonnet, which would be a really exciting prospect because I certainly never considered having the room to do it. I'm not sure I will yet, but I've basically mounted this as far forward as I can possibly have it as it sits, and even then it's probably a little bit further forward than I'd like it to be this way, but it works and I can still make a inlet duct. So it's basically doing a job as far as giving the fabricator a guide to go by so he can put all his tubes and bits and pieces in to get all this mounted up where it needs to be. So that's about the best that I can do. As you'll see, I've literally got wires here holding that back, but hey, look, it's there to do a job, and that's simply just mock up where it is so he can see where it's going and take his measurements and do it from there and nothing more. So it's doing that well. So now that I've got these here situated where I'm pretty happy with them being. I'm going to start looking at the transmission cooler and the engine oil cooler. So previously, I'll chuck a picture up here. As you can see, the transmission cooler, gearbox cooler, was sitting in the headlight, just here, and the lines ran from here right around the back of the engine bay to the gearbox to right down over here, with the pump, actually it's gone, I've got it out at the moment, but it was tucked down the back there. So, and then the engine oil cooler, the lines run from the filter here and the back of the engine, again right around the back, and that's sat just in behind here. So what I'm going to do is switch those two over, as it just makes complete sense. And the engine oil cooler will be here, so that the lines can in fact just run straight back there, and the transmission cooler will be here. I'll find a place to mount the pump somewhere along there, and the lines will be much shorter and sweeter. So I'm still just working on mounting bits and pieces. What I'm doing at the moment is I've got both the 18 by 10.5s on the front, and I'm just what I'm trying to do is line up this front bumper so the fabricator's got an idea of where that goes to make the tube frame for everything sits. So I need the front guards to sit on properly, which they're currently not, as you'll see. They do not fit at all with the 18 by 10.5s, which are on the front. So what I've done, just to begin, is I've chopped the rear end off, as that is always going to be cut off anyway. You don't want high pressure air building up inside the wheel well. That's why you always see time attack and typical race cars with the fender cut and exit here, or vents or louvers in the guard as well, or instead of it, just it stops all that horrible high pressure building up, which you do not want. So started with that, got rid of that, and I've just rough marked. This won't be the final cut, but it's enough just to get the guard sitting back so it's not touching the wheel, so I can line up where these are going to go a bit better. So I'll get to cutting that now, and we'll see how she sits. So this is what the cut one looks like. You can see obviously how much this tyre sticks out. That's with the guard sitting where it would normally sit with a standard wheel. So obviously it'll need a whole lot more cutting. Obviously there's no travel there, but that was just to get it sitting right for now. What I can do is start working a few things out with the bumper, like I said, and hopefully soon I'll be able to start mocking up the wide body, which is obviously going to look pretty cool. But first things first, we'll get the front built and underway. I've just cut the other guard to suit. This is currently what it looks like with the guards off. As you can see, the width it's pretty girthy. To make these fit, I've had to attack the inner guard here with a fairly sizable hammer right around. It's mostly clearance now. I think the car will raise up probably just ever so slightly to account for these as well. And also I'll have to put steering spaces in 2 rotations of the wheel, lock to lock, so 1 each way from the center. Otherwise it will simply hit, which is plenty. I don't need anything more than that for the track, and that certainly turns the wheel a fair way. Well, last clip before it goes to get the tube frame fabricated. So I ended up with them on a quite an angle, like I previously said, so I can hopefully get a duct out of there. Time will tell. I've mounted the bumper up again using timber, so for a guide for the fabricator to build the tube frame and mount everything. So that's exactly where it needs to be. Already showed you the guards that were cut, so that's all cool. Other than that though, I've just basically pinned everything up and out of the way so it's not in his way for the fabrication. And he actually came around the other night and we had a bit of a discussion about what exactly he did need. I didn't have to worry about mounting the oil coolers either side. It was clear enough where he was going to just triangulate some bits and pieces here, mount one, and I'll be able to duct it really nicely off that front bumper there, so they're going to fit in well, which I'm pretty happy about. Other than that though, I pulled the Race Tech seat out and the mounts, and I've got my new Race Tech seat with the head restraints on the side and some new mounts on their way. We're going to cut these bits of angle out, as you can see here, and get the seat sitting a lot lower. These actually aren't compliant with the Schedule A, the motorsport regulations in New Zealand, so it'll be good to get those up to spec as well. But other than that, we're just going to be waiting for the fabrication. Hopefully it'll go in about a week's time. And I went in as well to see engine builder. He's got the engine in bits. See the picture I'll chuck up here. As you can see, a couple pictures, pistons, all that are out, all looking good. Just got some new rings on the way, and just trying to find the right head gasket at the moment. 50 thou head gasket, which we don't want to use a Cometic one due to issues that they've had, so probably source that from the States, but that'll come. And hopefully the next time you see this, the timber mounting's gone, and I'll have somewhat of a tube frame front there, and I can get stuck into tidying up the engine bay, painting, etc., as previously mentioned.